and welcome to No Recipe Required. Hope you're doing well. Tonight I'm going to do one of my childhood favorites. My aunt actually introduced me to this dish at Disneyland. It is fettuccine Alfredo. I think we're at Epcot Center, Little Italy, those little, I don't know, tour of the world type restaurants. And it blew my mind. Very, very simple to make. There's only like 4 ingredients and it can really be done in about 15 minutes. Let's go ahead and get started. Okay, for our fettuccine Alfredo, we're going to drop our pasta same time as we make our sauce. Do them both at the same time. Okay, so I just dropped my pasta, my fettuccine, for our fettuccine Alfredo. And we're going to go ahead and start making the sauce while the fettuccine cooks. You know, that'll take about 10 minutes. This sauce doesn't take any longer than 10 minutes. We're going to add, I've got like 2 tablespoons, maybe a tablespoon and a half of butter in there. A lot of recipes call for a lot more, but I don't really think you need a whole lot more. And then I've added 1/3 of a cup of cream. And we're just going to let this cream come up to a simmer and reduce down by about 1/3 or so. And that should happen roughly around the time our pasta is done. I'm not too worried about over-reducing the cream, because it's actually pretty easy to thin it out with a little bit more pasta water, which we're going to reserve out of our pasta. Okay, we're about 1.5 minutes before the box says my pasta is done. I'm going to give it a try. Same method, just pull one out, grab the end of the strand. It's not too hot. Take off a little bit, chew it, and I think this is almost perfect. You know, frankly, another 30 seconds, it'll absolutely be done. If you want to, don't drop your bowl. I usually reserve a little bit of pasta water, depending on the dish that I make, because this can come in really handy when you're making something to thin it out. And that pasta water is full of starch, helps thicken your sauces. Absolutely great. Okay, so my cream has been reducing down for just about for exactly the amount of time it took me to cook the pasta, which is really all you need. I've got some grated Parmesan cheese here. I'm going to add probably a 1/4 cup, and again, this is for a little appetizer portion, and I'm going to let that melt into my sauce. And then I've got my drained fettuccine pasta, which I'm going to add directly to the sauce. And again, this is why I'm not too concerned about the the thickness or the thinness of the sauce. The starch from the pasta is going to help thicken the cream, and so if it's not quite reduced, it will easily thicken up once you add the pasta. So you ask, what happens if it gets too thick? Well, that's why we keep a little bit of pasta water that we just pulled out of the pot before we drain the pasta, and you can always add that back in. We need to season, especially the fresh ground black pepper. I can't suggest enough to you. Don't use the pre-ground stuff out of the jar. You know, for this dish, the ground black pepper is really a pretty important key element to the dish. And then regarding the final thickness, I like to keep it a little thinner than you might think, because it's going to continue to thicken in the pan itself. And if you need to add a little bit of more cream instead of water, you absolutely can do that until you get to the right consistency. Before you serve it, you definitely want to give one of these guys a taste. You can break it off. Make sure your seasoning is right. This one could actually use a little bit more salt, a little bit more pepper, a little bit more cheese, and then I also like to add a garnish of freshly chopped parsley. Very fine, right in the middle. We do a final little toss, and we can go ahead and serve this up. Okay, we've got our fettuccine. I like to give it, just a toss right before serving, because some of that sauce will settle down in the bottom of the pan. And then, pull out your little serving, let the strands peel away a little bit, then drop it into your pasta plate with that twist, which is going to help it get nice and high on the plate. And there we've got our perfect fettuccine Alfredo, one of my absolute favorites. I'll see you next time on No Recipe Required.